Yeah, and so that's how I use AI nowadays. So I don't use ChatGPT. I mean, I use it, but for very short conversations. But when it's something that requires a lot of iteration over some task, then this is what I do. So I'm gonna show you actually here. There is something called AI-powered coding assistants, right? Or simply coding agents or simply agents. And they are for coding. This is an example, Codex. There is a Gemini, Cloud, or Open Code, whatever. This is a tool that you install on your computer and that consumes the AI models in the um, in the cloud by OpenAI or Google or Anthropic or whatever is the provider, right? And so it's like a chat. It's like if you have the chat interface as a program in your computer instead of going to the browser to chatgpt.com, for example. You have it there. The advantage is that if you have it there, it can access tools. For example, can create a new file in your computer, in your hard drive, right? That you can use later. So you don't need to copy paste or anything like that. You can work with those files locally. You can emulate these, of course, what I'm going to show you through a chat interface on a browser, but this is just much more powerful. And so you can see it's just chat, right? So it's a chat interface with some features, and you see my prompts there and the answers. And the way this started, I'm going to show you how this conversation or this session started, was like this. Our goal today is to define an AI agent for helping writers create their content. The agent is defined by a set of markdown files where each file describes an individual role in the writing and editorial process. All the roles are then linked from an agents.md file that the writer can use later to start AI agents. Before we start, let's generate a plan for this. So this is important. First, tell it to generate the plan so you can review it and make changes, suggest changes, or explore alternatives until you're happy with it. And then you tell the AI to go ahead and implement the plan. That means it's going to create these agents.md file plus other files, right? So I can show you actually what this created. And this was a long conversation where we were iterating the uh, the files. These are the files, right? So here is the agents.md. I'm going to show you the contents, and you can see all their MD files. But this defines instructions for the AI model to follow, and it can reference all their files in the file system that are also here. Okay. Now I'm using something or I'm using these MD files for a writing process, but it could be any kind of activity that requires creating text or images or anything that an AI can do. It's just a bunch of instructions, and the instructions were mostly, for the most part, created by the AI itself, right? And then how do you use that? Well, you create a prompt like this. You tell it to use agents.md, which is in your file system, and this coding agent can use to start a workflow. It's a pipeline of writing. So I can just simply, well, you will have to write this. And as you can see in my case, it expects some inputs like the publication profile, like the topic. Where isn't this? Why your weekend disappears faster than your weekdays? So just a fun example. The audience, busy professionals and students. The goal, explain, whatever. Let's use just 200 words so it goes faster. Sources and voice voice sample. All these, it depends on your use case. Whatever it's that you work on, you will have to tell the agent to create another thing, right? This is for writing, and uh, and then you can go to a coding agent. So let's use now Gemini. This loads so that all the tools are invoked by without confirmation. Don't be careful with that. Don't do it. I know this agent won't do hopefully anything wrong. And I can paste my prompt here and just let it work. So it's gonna read the instructions on all the MD files and work on it on the goal of writing this piece. So that's pretty good. Um, Again, you can do this for any kind of uh, activity or task that you want to automate. And to be honest, I don't publish the output of this. I take it as a first very early draft. I usually heavily change the introduction. I might use the middle of it a bit because it's sometimes it's pretty good. And then I change also the final paragraphs. I tweak it a lot and I give it more, human touch to it. But for this kind of technical writing or documentation, I've seen it also for defining product ideas or defining uh, marketing programs or um, creating the documentation around a piece of software, this kind of thing. This works pretty well. I don't know in other fields what would be, but I guess there are many options here. And as you can see, it's kind of following a pipeline, and there are some different roles defined, right? Even a fact checker, a copy editor, and a final QA, and it iterates again if it fails. Like if it's not happy with the quality, it's gonna iterate. I haven't seen it doing that a lot, but it did it once at least, so that was pretty cool. It failed, didn't wasn't happy with the quality, and it ran the pipeline again, or from certain point. Um, so that's what this thing is doing right now, and now it's 2 minutes and still working. And what this creates is a directory with the output of the LLM, right? And that's in the instructions here somewhere, right? Uh, and finally, it's gonna have some final document that contains the actual blog post in this case. It's pretty cool to see that kind of makes its own notes as it's working. Now it's checking that it doesn't sound too much like AI writing, which is funny. It's the AI checking that it doesn't sound like itself. It's gonna sound like AI anyway. So that's why if you use this for producing something to the public, you should definitely edit this heavily. Don't just publish AI slop. Nobody wants to read that. No one wants to see that. And the cool thing is that you can let it run. It could be as complex as you want. The prompt that I showed you here, you can add things here, right? Whatever instructions, additional instructions that you want to tell the AI to follow, you can do. Yeah, in my case, what I created or what the AI created was or expects these inputs, right? It doesn't mean that I cannot give it more instructions here. After all, it's just an AI and expects a prompt. Um, and in this example, well, I'm not adding anything else, right? But usually I could add things like start with an example of something, or maybe mention product X only at the end of the article, that kind of stuff. And that's the other thing I use. I don't type too much. I find that the AI is very good at just understanding all the things that I say, even if they are not very precise. And for that, I use something called Whisper Flow, I think it's called. So you press the walkie-talkie button in your keyboard and start talking, and wherever the cursor is, it's gonna introduce that there, and it fixes uh, the text a little bit, makes it or it understands like the meaning a bit. It's pretty good. All right, this is taking more time than I was expecting for a 200 words blog post, but I mean, it is what it is. That's the goal of this, right? To let it work. Now it seems like the run is now complete. That's pretty good. So let's have a look at it. So this is output in this directory. Demo weekend disappears. There are a bunch of files. We don't care about those. We care about the blog post. We can render it like this. And now we can see if it's good or not. I'm not going to read this, but you get the idea, right? So it's talking about the topic that I suggested, right? Then use this as a draft. Don't just publish this as is. And yeah, so again, just use any any business task or any task that you want to automate. Tell it to make a plan for creating these MD files. Review the plan, and if you like it, then just tell it to implement it, and then you just take these files, move to that directory, or upload the files wherever interfaces you are using. If you are not familiar with these kind of tools, or it looks a bit too intimidating, you can still use the web interfaces. I know, of course, software developers, we like this kind of stuff, and we understand how it works. I would say it's not difficult; anybody can do it. Mm. But yeah, that's the idea. There are other ways to do this, and just think of it as a very complex prompt that the AI generated for you, but you were in charge of telling it what exactly would be the prompt for. So yeah, I hope this helps, and let me know what you think.